I lost 30 pounds. After menopause, how peptides finally moved the scale. I was starving myself, working out, doing everything right, and the scale still would not move. Then I changed my approach after menopause, added peptide support, and finally lost 30 pounds. What changed? I stopped fighting my body and started supporting it differently. Instead of doing more and eating less, I focused on what actually made sense after menopause. Better recovery, better muscle support, smarter habits, and peptide support as part of the routine. That is when the stubborn weight finally started to move. The scale dropped. My body changed, and I lost 30 pounds. For the first time in what felt like forever, my body stopped fighting me. That was the shift. Because before that, every day felt like proof that nothing was working. I was doing what women are always told to do when the weight will not budge. Eat less, cut more, work harder, be stricter, stay disciplined. And when none of that worked, I did what so many of us do. I blamed myself. I thought I was not trying hard enough. I thought I had gotten lazy. I thought maybe this was just what life after menopause was supposed to look like. But it was not laziness. It was not a lack of effort. And it was not all in my head. My body had changed. That was the breakthrough I wish I had sooner. Because I spent way too long trying to use old rules on a new body. I kept acting like the answer had to be more restriction, more cardio, more suffering, more control. I believed that if I just pushed harder, eventually the scale would reward me. It did not. Instead, I felt exhausted, discouraged, and completely disconnected from my own body. The weight clung to my middle. My energy felt lower. My recovery felt worse. And no matter how good I was, my body just did not respond the way it used to. That was the real heartbreak. Not just the weight itself. The feeling that I had lost control. The feeling that I could not trust my body anymore. The feeling that maybe this was permanent. And once that fear gets into your head, everything starts to feel heavier. You step on the scale already bracing for disappointment. You open your closet already frustrated. You eat one thing off plan and tell yourself the day is ruined. You stop feeling hopeful because hope starts to feel dangerous. That is why this was about so much more than losing pounds. I did not just want to weigh less. I wanted relief. I wanted momentum. I wanted my body to feel responsive again. So I stopped asking, how can I force this weight off? And started asking, what does my body actually need now? That question changed everything. Because once I asked the right question, I stopped trying to punish my body into changing and started trying to support it instead. And that is when I started looking at peptide support in a different way. Not as magic. Not as hype. Not as a shortcut. As a tool. That distinction mattered to me because a lot of people hear the word peptides and go straight to extremes. Either they think peptides are the answer to everything, or they dismiss them completely. I did neither. I wanted to understand what they actually do, what problems they are trying to solve, and whether any of them made sense for a woman dealing with menopause, stubborn weight, body changes, and the constant frustration of doing everything right with very little to show for it. And when I really started paying attention, 3 peptides stood out to me. Not because they all do the same thing, but because each one helped me understand a different part of the problem. The first peptide that got my attention was semaglutide. Semaglutide stood out because this was not just internet buzz. It had real study results behind it. In a major New England Journal of Medicine study, people using semaglutide lost an average of 14.9% of their body weight over 68 weeks, while the placebo group lost 2.4%. That is a big difference. In plain English, if someone weighs 200 pounds, 14.9% is nearly 30 pounds. That got my attention fast, because that told me semaglutide was not one of those maybe it helps a tiny bit tools. For the right person, it could make a real difference. What mattered even more to me was how it seemed to help. The simple version is this. Semaglutide can help some people feel less hungry, feel full sooner, and think about food less. It works through the GLP-1 system, which is one of the body's appetite and satiety pathways. And after menopause, that matters a lot. Because when you are hungry all the time, fat loss becomes a daily fight. When cravings keep hitting, consistency gets harder. When food is on your mind all day, it starts to feel like you are trying to win by sheer force. So to me, semaglutide represented one important idea. Maybe the answer is not more discipline. Maybe the answer is less friction. That was powerful. Because so many women after menopause are not failing because they do not care. They are struggling because the process feels too hard to sustain. Semaglutide made me realize that if hunger gets quieter, fat loss can finally feel possible again. Then I found tirzepatide. And this is where the conversation got even bigger, because tirzepatide also had very strong numbers behind it. In the SURMOUNT-1 trial, people taking tirzepatide lost about 15.0%, 19.5%, or 20.9% of their body weight depending on the dose over 72 weeks. The placebo group lost 3.1%. That is huge. Again, in simple terms, if someone weighs 200 pounds, percent is 30 pounds, 0.5% is 39 pounds, and 20.9% is about 42 pounds. So when I saw those numbers, I understood something right away. This was not small. This was not lose a few pounds and hope for the best. This was the kind of result that makes people feel like their body is finally responding again. What really stood out to me was that tirzepatide seemed to push the conversation beyond eat less into a much bigger discussion about metabolism, appetite, and body response. And for women after menopause, that matters. Because this is not just about vanity. This is about a body that suddenly feels less forgiving, less predictable, and much more likely to hold weight around the waist and belly. Tirzepatide made me realize that some peptide tools are not fringe anymore. They are part of a serious medical conversation about obesity and weight loss. In simple language, tirzepatide looked like a stronger, move-the-scale kind of tool. And that matters when you have spent months, or even years, feeling like your body is ignoring all your effort. The third peptide that changed my thinking was tesamorelin. Now tesamorelin is different, and I want to explain that clearly. Tesamorelin is not the same kind of broad, mainstream weight loss option as semaglutide or tirzepatide. Its strongest evidence is in reducing visceral fat, the deeper belly fat around the organs, in people with HIV-associated abdominal fat accumulation. In a randomized JAMA trial, tesamorelin over 6 months was associated with reductions in visceral fat and modest reductions in liver fat. So why did I still care about it? Because it changed how I thought about stubborn belly fat. It reminded me that not all fat is the same. There is the kind of fat you can pinch, and there is the deeper fat that sits in the belly area and is more tied to metabolic risk. That deeper fat is part of why midlife weight gain feels so different. It is not just, I gained a little weight. It is, my whole middle changed. That is why tesamorelin mattered to me. Not because I thought, this is the magic menopause answer. Because it made me smarter. It made me realize I had been asking only one question. How do I lose weight? But the better questions were, how do I reduce stubborn belly fat? How do I improve body composition? How do I support muscle while shrinking my waist? How do I stop thinking about my body like it is one simple math problem? Tesamorelin was the peptide that made me think more specifically. And after menopause, specific matters. Because if your biggest frustration is your waistline, your belly, and that heavy feeling through the middle, then just lose weight is too vague. You do not just want a lower number. You want your body to feel different. That was a huge mental shift for me. What these 3 peptides meant to me in plain English. Once I understood all 3, this is how I started thinking about them. Semaglutide meant, can I calm the hunger and food noise enough to stay consistent? Tirzepatide meant, can I get stronger support for weight loss when my body feels deeply stuck? Tesamorelin meant, Can I understand stubborn belly fat better and think beyond just the scale? And that changed everything. Because before that, I was still thinking like a dieter. Eat less. Push harder. Hope for the best. After that, I started thinking differently. What is driving the hunger? What is happening to the belly fat? What is happening to muscle? What kind of support actually makes sense after menopause? That was the turning point. Not that I found one magic peptide, but that I finally understood that postmenopausal weight loss is not one problem. It is several problems happening at the same time. And once I saw that, I could stop acting desperate and start acting strategic. That is when peptide support became useful to me, not as the whole plan, as part of a smarter one. So what did I actually change in real life? This is where things got practical. Because once I understood that menopause weight gain was not just about eating less and trying harder, I had to build a daily routine that actually reflected that truth. Not a punishment routine, not a fantasy routine, a real one. Something I could actually live with. Something that supported fat loss without draining me. Something that worked with a postmenopausal body instead of constantly fighting it. The first thing I changed was my mornings. Before, I would wake up and immediately start negotiating with myself. Should I skip breakfast? Should I do more cardio? Should I cut lower today? Should I make up for yesterday? That pattern kept me trapped. So I replaced it with something simple. I focused on hydration first, then protein, then movement I could actually sustain. No drama, no punishment, no trying to earn my food before noon. That sounds simple, but it changed the whole emotional tone of my day. Because when you have struggled with your weight for a long time, everything starts to feel loaded. Every meal feels like a test. Every craving feels like failure. Every weigh-in feels personal. I needed my routine to feel less emotional and more repeatable. So I simplified it. I stopped undereating and started eating for results. That was hard for me at first because I had spent so long believing that smaller portions always meant faster fat loss. But undereating was making me hungrier, more reactive, more tired, and less likely to preserve muscle. And after menopause, muscle matters. So instead of surviving on tiny meals and caffeine, I started building meals around protein, fullness, and stability. That meant I stopped skipping real meals. I made protein a priority instead of an afterthought. I stopped trying to survive the day on coffee, willpower, and the promise that I would be good. And that changed more than I expected. I was fuller. I crashed less. I handled evenings better. I stopped feeling like food was chasing me all day. This is also where peptide support fit in so well. Not because it replaced good habits, because it made good habits easier to maintain. That is the best way I can describe it. It reduced friction. Less food noise, less constant obsession, less of that exhausting inner battle where every night feels like a fight between your goals and your appetite. Instead of trying to win through willpower alone, I finally had support that made consistency feel realistic. And consistency is what changed my body. Not perfection, not suffering, consistency. The second big change was exercise. I used to think cardio was always the answer. If the scale was stuck, I thought I needed to burn more, sweat more, earn more. But that approach mostly made me more tired. So I shifted my focus. I still moved a lot, but I stopped treating movement like punishment. Walking became one of the most valuable tools in my routine. Not because it was extreme, because it was sustainable. It supported energy. It kept me active. It lowered barrier to consistency. And it gave me something I could actually do day after day without resentment. That mattered. Because the best plan is not the hardest one. It is the one you can repeat long enough to let it work. Then I paired that with strength work. Not because I wanted to become a bodybuilder, because I wanted to support muscle, improve body composition, and stop getting softer while I kept eating less. That was a huge mental shift too. I stopped asking, how many calories can I burn today? And started asking, what kind of body am I building? That question changed my training. It made me think about strength, It made me think about muscle. It made me think about shape, function, and long-term metabolism, not just the number on the screen after a workout. Once I accepted that, exercise became useful again. Not punishing, useful. And that is when it finally started helping me instead of draining me. The third change was how I looked at progress. Before, if the scale did not move fast, I assumed nothing was happening. Now I started paying attention to other signs too. Was I less hungry? Was my waist changing? Were my clothes fitting better? Did I feel more stable around food? Was I recovering better? Did I feel less puffy? Did my body feel more responsive? That mattered because progress after menopause is not always loud at first. Sometimes it starts quietly. A little less hunger, a little less bloating, a little more energy, a little more control at night, a little more consistency from one week to the next. And then one day, the scale starts moving too. That is how it happened for me. Not in one giant cinematic moment, but in a way that was actually real. A little more support, a little more consistency, a little more trust, a little more momentum. And over time, those little shifts turned into 30 pounds. That is how I lost 30 pounds after menopause. Not by starving harder, not by doing endless cardio, not by using old rules that no longer matched my body, but by changing the way I supported myself, changing the way I thought about fat loss after 50, and using peptide support as part of a smarter, more sustainable routine. And maybe the biggest change of all was emotional. Because when the scale has not moved in a long time, you stop trusting the process. Then eventually, you stop trusting yourself. So when the number finally started to shift, even a little, it felt like more than weight loss. It felt like proof. Proof that my body was not broken. Proof that I had not failed. Proof that I did not need to suffer more. I needed a better strategy. That is why this mattered so much. Yes, I lost 30 pounds. But more than that, I got hope back. I got momentum back. I got trust back. And if you are in that place right now, frustrated, postmenopausal, doing everything right, and still not seeing results, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not imagining it. You are not weak. You are not lazy. And you are not broken. Your body may need a different kind of support than it used to. That is not failure. That is reality. And once you stop fighting that reality, you can finally start making real progress. So if this story hit home for you, go watch my playlist. Menopause Weight Loss Success Stories. Because that is where you will hear from women who felt exactly what you might be feeling right now. Stuck, discouraged, confused, and tired of blaming themselves, until they found a better strategy that finally worked. And if you want the science, the nuance, and the real conversation around peptide support in midlife, then subscribe to Midlife Peptide Intelligence. Because this channel is for women who want more than hype, more than trends, more than empty promises. It is for women who want to understand what is happening in their bodies, what actually helps, and how to make smarter decisions after menopause. So subscribe to Midlife Peptide Intelligence. Then go binge menopause weight loss success stories. Because the more you understand what changed after menopause, the easier it becomes to finally change with it.